If there was a home care hall of fame, just like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, well, Ginny Kenyon would be in it. We have her back on the podcast today for the second part of her Doing It Right series. And today she's going to talk about doing it right with your leadership. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Home Care Heroes and Day Service Stars podcast. If you provide services to keep older or disabled people living at home, then this podcast is for you. Now, here's your host, Ken Accardi.
Well, hi, we're back here at Home Care Heroes and Day Service Stars, and we actually have our second in a three-part series with Virginia Kenyon, Ginny Kenyon. Ginny is really a home care and home health rock star who has run agencies, led teams, and been a very exceptional consultant. And actually, if you, I'm going to say this, if you are watching this on YouTube, for example, and you can see Ginny, you're going to guess a certain age for Ginny, and you're going to be a little wrong. She's a little bit older than she looks and that kind of thing. And she actually reached out to me and said she wanted to do a series that lets her pay some things forward to the industry and share some of the great lessons that she learned. So the first video and the first podcast episode that you heard, or if you didn't hear it, was doing it right by your client or doing it right by your patient. And it's really worth listening to because all the examples there are about really finding out what will improve your patient's quality of life and gearing your services around that. And it's very, very powerful. But I'm not going to go back on that. We're going to move on today to episode 2, which is, I'm kind of debating between two different titles. It's either doing it right with your leadership or doing it right with your people. But I think we'll probably go with doing it right with your leadership because that's what Ginny had recommended. But with that, let me once again reintroduce Ginny. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm great.
All right. Well, you look fantastic, and we're gonna jump right into this. So, one thing I'd like to start with is, what would you say is the difference between a leader and a boss?
Well, a leader is someone who understands what their responsibilities are. Unfortunately, too many times when I've worked with people who had the title of boss, executive director, you name it, that high level, they thought they were the boss. They were the ones who told everybody what to do, and by God, they better follow it, or there would be consequences. All models therein. But the difference is that's not really who you are. You're the chief responsible person, is really who you are. I don't care what your title is. Forget the title, but just know this. You want to be successful? Know that your job is to be of service to everybody who works for you. Your job is to make sure that they have what they need in terms of material things and knowledge to be successful. And years ago, I had a very wonderful CEO who sent us, we didn't have video like this. We didn't have cell phones. This was that long ago. And we didn't, so he sent videos. And every month we got a video from him, from Lloyd. And one that sticks out that I really resonated with and put into practice, he said, you have 3 sets of customers. You have the people who refer to you. You have the clients and the families themselves, and then you have each other. And the most important customer you have is each other. Take care of them, and they'll take care of your business. So I thought, wow, I'm responsible. So I met with my therapist. They wanted Guizhong machines, which were horribly expensive, but they were better than the ultrasound because it could go over bony prominences. And I
Is
didn't
this
have.
John machine? Is that like for like a pain relief kind of thing, or what is
Yes,
that?
yes,
Okay.
it was for like ultrasound. It relieves the muscle cramps and it helps. The problem with the ultrasound, they couldn't go over, say, a hip bone where
Right.
some maybe had. So the Guizhongs could do that, but they were expensive. And I said, all right, I will get those for you, but we have to drive our private duty side because this was cost-based for Medicare at the time. I had no money there that I could fit that into. So we did a plan to really drive our private duty side so I would have discretionary money to invest in their machines.
Oh, incredible. So yeah, so here, I suppose, so first of all, I mean, you've unpacked a lot already. I mean, you've talked about, I love what you said, that you're the chief responsible person. It means, that you are, the buck stops here. You're not a finger pointer. You're not a, it was their fault. It's like you're in charge. You just got to get it done. And I also love the second big point you made is that, you've lived based on a previous leader, Lloyd. What's Lloyd's last name again?
Lloyd Hill, he was the CEO of Kimberly Quality Care.
Oh,
Dynamic
okay.
man.
All right. And he basically said, hey, you really have, three constituents or whatever that you're responsible to. It's the people who are referring to you, the clients and their families, and then each other, and that the most important is each other. So I think that's a lot. And that type of thing. I grew up in my career, I would say, at GE, and this was a little while ago as well, because the CEO was a very prominent CEO named Jack Welch,
Oh, yes.
and he was a very good CEO. And he said, and he also, talked a lot about a leader versus a boss or a leader versus a manager. And he said, the job of leaders is to provide resources and essentially get out of the way, that kind of thing. And really, so I think that there's a corollary there that, a leader is only as effective as the the people on their team, and the people are only going to be as effective as you are able to make them, and and equipping them with the right resources. So it's interesting. A Keyzhang machine is something that they wanted, right? And that's something that they could use to really go for better, um, better patient client satisfaction. So that's incredible. You also, I think you mentioned that at some point your aides said that they wanted business cards. So tell us that story.
Well, I met with all of the different disciplines separately so I could just hear their request. And when I talked to the aides, I said, all right, what do you need from me to be more successful out in the field with your clients? I expected, different kinds of things. They also had stethoscopes, but that isn't what they asked for. They said, we'd like business cards. I said, done. I mean, they were $5 for a box of 100 at that time. I think I had 15 CNAs at the time. The exciting thing was they were so excited about having their business cards. One of the nurses came in one day and said, do you know the aides are in the aisles or in the checkout lanes at Safeway passing out their business cards? I said, how wonderful. They are so happy and so proud to work for us. They're passing out their business cards. And that was the truth. The thing about listening and hearing and empowering your staff, giving them what they need to be successful out there. It took 18 months. I took over that branch. It was a little tiny $1.2 million branch. We were small. I think I only had 5 nurses at the time and 3 aides and 1 physical therapist. 18 months later, we had 15 nurses, 23 aides, and 9 therapists. And my business went from 1.2 to 5.3 million in that 18 months period. I did not do that. The staff did that. You take care of your staff and they take care of everything else. I also met with all my office staff, and boy, did I get a list from them. But I provided what they asked for, and they were much more productive. They were happier. And the side effect is when I got changed, when I was moved over to the Seattle Everett branch to oversee them because they were failing, I had staff in my office crying because they didn't want me to go. That told me that I'd listened and they felt important. And I tried to make sure that everybody who worked with me felt important about their job because every job's important. I don't care what it is. If one of them drops the ball, then it has an effect all the way through the organization. The other thing I found is when we did that, I had far fewer conflicts between staff. And next time I'm going to talk about hiring, but I learned a lot about listening to people and what they need and empowering them to do their job. And boy, did they do it. The accolades for staff just poured in, and we had all staff meeting every month, the private duty side as well as the Medicare side and the infusion side. And we started out, I think, with maybe 20 people who would come. I finally had to rent the hall over in the hotel across the road from us because we were having over 200 of the staff who would come. We had 350 staff by then. And we presented their tenure awards. I had a little star pin I gave them for 6 months, and they got a jacket, a lab coat with their name on it for a year. And I can't remember what 5 and 10 years, but we did our tenure awards, we did our birthday, and the last thing we did was read letters of praise that came from clients. And we'd bring the staff member up and we'd read all the letters that we'd gotten about them. It was powerful, and it really encouraged them to go out and really do really good care of their patients and to listen to what their patients wanted and what was important to them. So remember, you're not the boss. You're the chief responsible person, and you're responsible to everybody who works for you. Take it to heart and watch your business grow.
I love that. So let's go back to you grew this agency from 1.2 million to 5.3 million in 18 months, which is, astronomical growth by anybody's estimation, including on a percentage basis, the venture capitalists in Silicon Valley would say, well, yes, this one's a rocket ship. So this is what we want to jump on. And, in a business where it's about managing people and delivering to people, it's almost unheard of. And that, so my question here is that, by taking care of the staff, we've gotten some inklings into, how it helped you grow. So first of all, you had staff, they were proud of their jobs. They were, they were literally handing out their business cards and getting more business that way. But, you did mention that, your 3 customers, one of them is the people who refer to you.
Yes.
And that sort of thing. So, so do you have any good stories on, kind of cultivating and working with your referral sources in that aspect of, the leadership piece?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I did. Lloyd sent out another videotape that said, branch directors, you're responsible to be out there meeting and greeting the people in your community, especially those that gave you referrals, to make sure that you are providing the best service to them that you can, because they're a customer. They're a customer. So I met with in the nursing homes, we had 12 of them. I met with the administrator and the discharge planners to find out what was important to them in terms of a discharge. And they said, we really want someone who will respond when we call and say, we have a discharge that's going to need home health. And we need to be able to call and make that quick rather than be on the phone for 15 or 20 minutes going over it. And the same from the hospital discharge planners. And so I heard all that after a 4th or 5th time. And I thought, well, what can I do to help them there? Because I understand their time is valuable. 20 minutes, 30 minutes on the phone trying to give a referral is not what they want to be doing with their time. They want to be spending it with the patients on the floor, finding out what they need, what they want. So I told one of my senior nurses, asked her if she'd be a coordinator for us. I gave her a pager, and then I went around to all of the nursing home, just the rest of them as well as the previous ones. And I said, this is her name, this is her pager. You page her, she will come immediately and do all the discharge planning for that patient coming home. And even if it's another home health agency, we will make sure they get back to the home health agency that they want. I said, would that work? Within 6 months, I had all 12, and I had all 3 hospitals referring only to us because all they had to do was page. And she would come in and take care of everything, including charting in the chart that the discharge has been fulfilled. It has gone to this agency. The DME has been ordered. She took care of everything So all the discharge planners had to do was call us. It
Hmm.
was a win-win-win for all of us. And yeah, that's one of the reasons we grew. But yeah,
Yeah, incredible. So yeah, in that case, it sounds like, I mean, you were their trusted advisor, you were taking work off their plate and you were getting it done correctly. So between all that, I mean, even I guess if let's say that geographically it was better for them to refer to somebody else, um, or whatever the case may be. I mean, it was just worth it from your side to make that investment to be like, okay, well, we'll take care of your discharges because we're certainly going to get our fair share. We're going to get more than our fair share because we're your trusted team and your trusted advisor. Um, but like you said, I mean, even if it's like, oh, these guys are not really in our sweet spot geographically, and I have, I know somebody over at ABC agency who I think would be better that you took care of that as well. Incredible. All right, well, I love it. So where else do you want to go next? And because I know that there's other things that you wanted to maybe share, or is this are those kind of your key messages for today?
it's the key message for today. Just remember that you do have customers, and they're more than just the patients you're taking care of. And the reason we agreed to send referrals over to other agencies, I remember what it was like as a nurse in the field. I had an ownership of my patients and they trusted me. So because of that experience, I wanted to make sure if they had a trusted nurse or therapist over at that other agency and they wanted that person back, we made sure. And I did know the key people in the other agencies.
Hmm.
And when we called, I had one that said, well, we're really full right now. So I called her boss, who I knew, and I said, Grace, this patient really wants so and so back. Can you please make sure you take the referral? I know you're full, but they really want you back. And she said, absolutely, we'll make sure. That's how you take care of them. That's customer service all the way around. My job was to make sure that whoever they were working with, they got it. So yeah, they were competition, but my colleagues out there knew that if they had a regular client that went in the hospital and I was doing the discharge for that particular entity, that patient, that client would come back to them. So there was a trust there between us. Your competition isn't your enemy. Sometimes they're your best colleagues. So that's how you build that relationship. Yeah, they were a competition. And about 3 years later, one of the the leader of one of the big agencies was at a conference with me, and she said, you've taken all my business down there in so and so. And I said, oh, Patty, no, that's not what happened. It was our business all along. We just took it back. She
There you
laughed
go.
and I laughed, and we were good friends. And so build your relationships with your colleagues out there, even though they're your competition. There's so much you can learn from each other. And we did. At conference, we always shared what we were learning. And we had lunch and found out what was going on with each other. It was nice to know we weren't the only ones drudging along in the tunnels along with everybody else. It's always nice to know you have colleagues out there. So that's another learning point about being a lead. A leader does that. You
Yeah,
lead.
well, we actually it's been a while now, but we've had a guy named Cameron Nasser on the podcast. Cameron, Silicon Valley area. He ran a home care agency called Nueva Care, and they were actually listed as one of the fastest growing companies on the on in the US, like I think in Forbes. And actually one of the big things that he shared as well is that he joined like a sort of a consortium where he would meet the leaders of other agencies on a regular basis, and they would have referral relationships between them. They would learn from one another, and that those agencies all grew and thrived. So I think that hearing it from you, hearing it from Cameron, it's the right thing. All right, but hey, we'll wrap up episode 2 for now. And so I guess my big takeaways are that first of all, episode 1 was all about taking care of your patients and doing that right. And episode 2, I loved what we heard about really taking care of your staff because they're your most important customer. I love how we put that in perspective. And then we also talked about taking care of our referral sources, and gave some great examples there. So just as a preview, episode number 3, Ginny said it herself, is going to be about recruiting and retention best practices. And I know that that's a favorite subject for pretty much everyone in the industry, because that's our biggest challenge. And I'd say at least almost half of the episodes of this podcast have something to do with recruiting and retention. So I'm looking forward to episode number 3 and getting Ginny's take on it. And for now, we'll say thank you to Ginny, and thank you to everybody for joining Home Care Heroes today.
Thank you, Ken.
Thanks for joining us today on the Home Care Heroes and Day Service Stars podcast, produced by Ankota. You can listen to back episodes by visiting 4homecareheroes.com. That's the number 4, then the words homecareheroes.com.